What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Mongol Show, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. I'm Mike. With me is Kev and Josh. The Hounds took a thumping in Tampa this weekend, but it's not all gloom and doom. Or is it? I don't know. We're going to talk about it and figure it out. But first, guys, how's it going? Kev, I was going to throw to you, and then you get like a mouthful of food. So, Josh, I'll start with you. How's it going, man?
It's not been a great week for soccer for me, at least local soccer. Everton won, so that's nice. But between the Hounds and the Crew, and it could have been better. But hey, got to see a lot of Steel Army members. That was great. Hang out at the stadium, that felt good. Seeing that view again. It was a cold night, but it was nice. At least it wasn't raining. Saw the Starlink satellites above Highmark, so that was kind of cool.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah,
it's a neat thing. But yeah, overall, not too shabby.
For those of us, I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen your activity on Twitter about the Crew. I know something's happening with it. For those who aren't in the know, catch us up. What's happening with the
Rip
Crew.
that Band-Aid off, Josh, and tell us what's going on with the Crew.
The front office decided, hey, let's rebrand. For some reason, like we had a successful season last season, obviously, and everything's going great. A new stadium, it's looking like all is happy. Save the Crew happened. It's great positivity, and then suddenly they're like, "Hey, you know, be cool. Let's change the name of the club to Columbus SC. Make it the most boring generic logo possible, just by having it be the letter C." And it's just like, okay, I guess, and it's just all stupid and pointless and. And they had no fan input at all. Like there's so much organization between the fan base in Columbus. Save the Crew, Nordeca, like it's ran perfectly. And then like they couldn't even be bothered to be like, hey, what do you guys think of this before they did it? So
it sounds like I know there's similar things happening in Europe. I know Juventus and Paris kind of changed their logo, and apparently a lot of the reasoning behind it is to be more attractive as like streetwear brands, to try to be more appealing to like actual apparel for this like the streetwear aesthetic and everything. I imagine that's probably why they're doing it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's just it's interesting that maybe that's a reason.
Yeah, it's just all stupid and it's annoying, and it just is so cookie cutter. It's beyond parody. It's like, oh, city name SC or FC or United. It's like, okay, cool. Let's just stamp. Okay, right. Next. So it's so uninspiring. And they're like, oh, we're still going to call them the Crew as a nickname. It's like, yeah, that's not how that works. Like, you can't just pretend like, oh, it's fine, we're calling them the Crew still. It's like, it's not the name of the club though. So
yeah.
I mean, after Save the Crew, do you think that the fan base has enough fight in them left to push back on this?
I mean, it's probably, the most organized the fan base has ever been. So at this point, like, it's a well-oiled machine. You should see the ratio going on right now on Twitter and like how bad this is being perceived, and the videos are going up, and there's campaigns going already about like, stop doing this, blah, blah, blah. And it's, I mean, if there's any fan base that would fight back against this, it's the fan base that fought to save their club. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, how did you even think this was going to be like no issue at all? It's like, oh, that's fine. They'll roll over. It's like, do you know these supporters? So
yeah, you definitely picked the wrong supporters to tick off, because they've done it before and they know how to do it again. So yeah, we'll be watching closely. Hopefully, the Save the Crew movement can once again save the Crew.
To tie it back to the Hounds, Zach Steffen, Pittsburgh's own keeper.
Born and raised.
Yep. Riverhound till he die.
Do we still have that weird connection? Like that we're like their...
No, we don't. Okay. There's no connection between the Crew and Pittsburgh. But Zach Steffen, he tweeted, or he responded on Instagram with the rebrand, like just commented underneath it. He goes, meh. So, it's like, thanks, Zach.
Yeah. So that was one bit of news, obviously, that's not Riverhounds related. The other one, we got to give a shout out to Pitt men's team, who won 3-0 today to make their first ever College Cup, which is essentially the Final Four for college men's soccer, which it still kind of blows my mind. I remember doing a podcast. It was 4 years ago with John Krasinski, where we were talking about Jay Vidovich being hired as the head coach, and the team was like nothing. Like literally, I don't know if they had won a game in the ACC, and to now go from that to be like the team to beat in just 4 years is insane.
I'm naive around this stuff. Are they in the top division in the NCAA?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Okay, that is really impressive.
Yeah. So like to go from nothing to like the best is cool. In 4 years. In just 4 years. I mean, that's basically all recruiting. Like that's what that comes down to. The coach comes in, starts bringing in recruits, freshman class up to senior class, and that's it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So cool. So congrats to them. Shane White, who is a former Pitt player, the Hounds released a video of him wishing them good luck today from the locker room, which was awesome. So yeah, best of luck, Pitt, and you're 2 games away, 2 wins away from being, national champions, which is just, it's insane. So
no pressure.
Look, I mean, if there's a team playing without any pressure, the third goal today was scored from midfield. Like literally just saw the keeper was out and just buried it. I think it was in the 80th minute, just to like put that little exclamation point on it. And as like a college squad pulling that off, there's a chip on their shoulder, man. It's gonna be fun to watch. So.
It's cool to see that go the other way instead of having a late goal in the 80th minute be what varies you 3-0.
Here we go.
Not a bad transition.
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh my god,
what's going on?
All red.
Wait for it. Red screen up. ESPN. Thanks for your patience. Hold on. We got to wait for this to come back. All right. Okay. I think we're back. All right.
That's amazing production value. That's really impressive.
That's a nice little Easter egg for the people who watch us on YouTube or any of the other live.
Guys, so the first few minutes of this game, it was like the first 30 were pretty much unwatchable for that very reason. ESPN was having streaming issues where you would either have like the red screen of death, or you would have the ESPN, sorry, we're trying to fix things, or there was just no audio, which, once we started to hear the announcers, I almost wished we'd go back to no audio. But, Josh, you were saying off air that that made it basically unwatchable on like the big screen at Highmark.
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't ESPN's fault because this was also happening on the local broadcast because we were watching the local broadcast in the pub in Highmark. So they were also having those red screens and it just like going to black. So they were having that issue as well. And the official feed from the USL is what the Hounds were trying to put up on the scoreboard. And so it wasn't even coming from like the point or from ESPN. It was like the official feed that is before all that. And it was having so many issues and like being sporadic that it just wouldn't go up on the Jumbotron. So we end up having to watch it from the pub because the feed was so bad. I mean, they didn't try after the first half, which is fine. Like, it's like at that point, it's like, all right, well, it is what it is. Yeah. So yeah, that sucks too, because like, we just announced this deal out. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but local broadcasts, like 21 games are going to be on local broadcast. And like to have the first game of the season be this, if you're that if you're 20 to the point, are you thinking like, maybe we shouldn't carry these guys, because if the feed's not good, people are just going to turn away from the channel when they see a red screen. So like that hurts. That hurts everyone involved. So they need to like figure out how to actually, I don't know, be a professional league. That'd be nice.
Speaking of figuring out how to be professional, the Hounds lost 3-0 to Tampa. Guys, listen, I think that there were a lot of people on Twitter after the game, immediately after the game, that some people assumed that everyone was in a panic. I don't think we're in a panic, but I think there are some positive takeaways from this, as much as you can get from a 3-0 loss. And there's obviously some negative takeaways. So let's start with the positives, right? I'll lead us off, and then I'll circle around to you guys for the takeaways. Yes, we lost 3-0, but I think that one of my positives is that really only one of the goals was sort of, I don't want to say our own fault. That's not really the right way to say it, but it came from sort of run of play off of Dos Santos' head. The second goal was a PK, which I went back and watched that replay multiple times. This was the one case I made the joke on Twitter where it was like I almost wish we had VAR because there was only one camera angle and they just kept showing it over and over and over again. But the way that the ball popped out, it almost makes me think that Danny V got a hand on it and knocked it away, and then Duba just dove. I know you guys are shaking your head no. I'm sticking to it.
All right,
I'm going to say that Danny V punched it. Regardless,
well,
it was
you needed these excuses when you said we were going to win 3-0 last week.
I did not. I said we were going to tie 3-3. I said that we were going to go down 3 and then we were going to score 3, and so we were going to feel good about a drop. But anyway, that didn't happen. So we got scored on from a PK, and then the third one was a communication error. And so, like, you got to imagine those are going to get cleaned up. It's their first game together. Danny Vitiello stopped another 1-on-none, so that's a positive. I think otherwise he had a relatively solid game. He might have been our most solid player on the night, but this wasn't like, they just cut us open for 3 goals. A lot of people were using the phrase Swiss cheese online. I didn't see Swiss cheese. So if there is a positive to take away from 3-0, it was, 2 quasi unconventional goals and 1 like legit. Okay, they beat the D on that one. So am I wrong?
Go ahead, Josh.
I was kind of hoping you would bite that bull. Okay, so I see where you're coming from. I don't think it's gloom and doom. First off, it's early. It's super early, so it's not exactly a big deal. But it wasn't good. I mean, like, there's not much positive I can say about this game, and it looked like we just didn't know what we were doing out there. And like, I think the third goal is indicative of all of that. You see that, and you're like, guys, communication, like, get on the same page. Like, how can you just let them have it right in front of the goal like that? Like, that's so frustrating. So yeah, I didn't see much positive, honestly, but I'm not gloom and doom. I'm just like, that was a crap game. Let's pretend like that didn't happen. Or, if you're the team, make sure you figure out what did happen.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of other things I want to say about this game, but Kev, give me something else. Give us something else to talk about here. Give us a positive.
Well, I can see in the chat. I don't think I have the ability to click on comments, but someone said like the first 30 minutes of play was pretty unwatchable.
That's Adam Marks. Yeah, thanks, Adam.
And while I agree with that sentiment, the thing I was going to lead off with is saying, like, for the first 30 minutes we weren't bad in the sense that, we weren't like silky, we weren't stringing passes together, but at least in my view, neither really were they. They had possession of the ball, they had control of the ball. I mean, in my view, that was going to be the run of play for our first game of the season. It's not their first game of the season. They're home, we're away. They're a good team. And, they had a positive
I was
result
waiting
last
for
week.
the opposite there. You're like, No.
They
played a game. We didn't. They're at home. We're not. They're a good team.
No. I still think we're
Okay.
a good team.
Okay.
But, I mean, like, I think we've seen that play out in that way in previous seasons where, you go to a tough away and first and foremost, you make sure you're, not giving them chance after chance. I mean, I think their first goal was probably Danny Vitiello's first real involvement. So like for 30 minutes, he really didn't see much at all. And when you're going away to a top team, that's good. So while we weren't silky going forward, especially in the first 30 minutes, we were fine defensively. And then after that, we created some chances. Yes, we didn't create nearly enough. It felt like we were disjointed in that system. I'm sure, like, because I remember last season, Bob telling particularly the back line to press up more when we were in possession, to kind of compress the field a bit more and get the likes of Dover and in this case Rivera into the play more. But when you have, 2 midfielders in Forbes and Griffin, when we're in possession, they absolutely need the width from Rivera and Dover. And it felt like they weren't there. It was, even when we were in possession, it was in a back 5. We weren't holding the ball long enough to allow them to get in the midfield and then provide support in possession. And so it felt like every time we were getting the ball, it was just, all right, let's try to get it to the front three as fast as possible and let them figure it out. And that wasn't working. And it felt like it almost never clicked throughout the entire game too. I was waiting for it to happen and it never really did. But even in spite of that, I mean, I think Williamson, I forget at what moment, but he has a chance where he probably should score. I think it's off a cross. He gets a foot in front of one of the defenders and he just puts it wide. And if that goes in, momentum swings, could be a different game. So I think that was my general outlook on it was for a team that we expect to be challenging for the top in our division and in our conference. That was about as bad as you could play and still have it be somewhat acceptable, I would say. Like, if we weren't expecting us to be challenging for the top, then I'd be like, you know what, whatever, routine law, like that's going to happen kind of thing. Anything much worse than that display, I'd be a little hesitant around, but I think, 3-0 slightly hides, I think, the run of play. The majority of the game was 1-0. We had some chances. They're a tough team. So it's not great. And we didn't play well. But I don't think it was car crash disastrous where we need to, have a hard look in the mirror.
I agree with that 100%. I think my thing is that I'm not even convinced that we didn't play well. To me, it almost felt like we got the formation wrong. Like when we basically have a 5-2-3, right? That's essentially what we were in for most of the time, Kev. You said, Dover and Rivera are sort of holding back the whole time. You're asking Danny Griffin and Kenny Forbes to be the outlet pass for the defense and start the play for the offense. And that's not going to happen. And so you need a holding midfielder that's in there, that's in front of the D, that can collect the ball, turn, and play it forward to a Danny, to a Kenny.
I mean, I slightly disagree. I think you can still get away with it if you have midfield support from Rivera and Dover, and both of them have the ability to do it. I mean, Dover has attacking ability, so does Rivera. It just felt like they never got into the midfield. And from that, I mean, I have enough confidence in both Forbes and Griffin to pick the ball up on the turn and, make transition happen. But it just felt like, they were too much on an island. When we were defending and they were in possession, the front three was fairly structured. They had this, flat three where you could see, usually Williamson was on one and Cicerone was on one and Dixon up the middle, where they stayed a little bit wider and kind of invited these passing lanes on either side of Dixon with the idea that both Griffin and Forbes would immediately close down. So you kind of had this W shape in like the front half of defense, but it ended up like these Griffin and Forbes was shuttling, just going like in the first half, and they're gonna get blown out. And it felt like there was. I think that was my most frustrating thing is in a preseason that went apparently pretty well in a preseason where Bob focused a lot more on getting our tactics right with the players that we have now, not for waiting for players that might come in. It still felt like, and maybe this is too harsh because it is still the first game, but it felt like we still had more to do on shape and getting the players to understand their roles.
I mean, I think that my biggest concern is I still don't know what these guys are. Like some of them, I think I have a better idea, but the fact that, halfway through the second half, we completely changed formation, which I think suited us much better. We went from basically that 5-2-3 to sort of a 4-2-3-1, where you had Danny Griffin and Velarde and Louis up like basically as the attacking mids, and then you brought in Todd Wharton and have Kenny as your holding. I felt like we did a much better job of sort of keeping the ball then. It was still chaos because at that point we're down 2-0 and we're trying to scramble to get something. But when you're making sort of wholesale changes with some of these players and they can all sort of be impact players, I don't feel like we've seen enough of any of them to really be able to say like that guy needs to be starting every single game outside of what we know from the guys last season. Nobody really made that impact. The closest one to me was Todd Wharton, because I felt that he stepped right in as sort of a holding mid. There were a couple of smart passes that he made, and he also didn't back down from Duba. I felt like a lot of our guys were sort of letting Duba have their way, and Todd Wharton wasn't in very long, and he dropped them. And it was just like, you're not going to do this to me. And so I would love to see Todd Wharton start as like a holding mid. But again, are we a 5-2-3 team, or are we a 4-2-3-1? Or are we going to change every single week and then we don't know? Like, it's just, I don't know if this team has so many good pieces that I don't know if we're ever going to settle into a starting 11 that like are going to be comfortable with each other week in and week out.
I think Williamson might have been a pretty bright spot, like seeing what he was able to do, the chance he had, and also what was it, the kicker outside the box, was also pretty good.
That set piece, yeah,
that set piece right there. So I mean, like, I wasn't like, oh man, these new players are woof. Like, I didn't think anyone looked terrible. I do want to say that I guessed that I'd be cursing Duba after playing against him, and sure enough, that PK, it's like, Duba. Knew it's gonna be. I knew that's what's gonna happen. Gonna get us.
What did you think when he didn't celebrate?
I thought that was actually class. Like, I was like, wow, I'm really surprised. Like that any player who can actually have like the control not to do that, like, because once you score, like, you are like,
feels great.
Yeah, like, I don't expect any player to like in the moment remember like, oh, that's kind of, like, I just played for them and blah blah. It's like, oh, okay, I was impressed with the fact that he was able to, like, suppress that, but it didn't matter. It wasn't, I'm like, oh, it's okay now. It's like, no, it still sucks.
Yeah. Especially the way the rest of the team kept celebrating and just the showboating and all of that.
Stop it. If it was us, you'd love it.
Yeah. No, hold on a second. I mean, the fact that like after the game was over, like the Tampa Twitter, like the team's Twitter was like taking shots at us. Like, come on, like, have a little bit of class.
No, I'm fine with all that. I have no qualms with any of that. Again, like, it wasn't even him scoring against us. That was like, that sucks. Like, it was us getting a PK from Duba, like him drawing a PK from us. So like, I freaking knew that was going to bite us in the ass. Like, I was like, this is what I loved about him, that he could always draw that foul. And I knew he was going to draw a foul against us, and I was going to be so upset about it.
I think it was Justin in our Slack that pointed out. Remember where Duba was playing as our like holding midfielder towards the end of last season? Like, he just wouldn't stay up the field. Where was that last year, man? Come on.
Yeah.
What other players? What else sort of surprised you, or that you saw that gives you reason to be optimistic going into next week, or you hope that you see more of come next week?
I'm not convinced on Dixon right now. Like, that's the opposite of what you asked. I'm aware, but pulling to Kevin here, like, I don't know. Like, I was kind of surprised by that, and like the 3 subs all in a row, and like the fourth one was like 5 or 7 minutes later. That's like, it felt like a hockey change. I was like, okay, like, is this like preseason where at halftime we just like completely switch out the crew and like, okay, these guys try now. So it was like 4 subs all in a row. It's like, okay, everyone, new squad, go out and see what you can do. Which, after that happens, when they scored 2 more times with the one terrible goal in the PK. So I don't know. Like, I just wasn't satisfied by like 60-minute on. I was just like, okay, this feels silly now. But
yeah, I mean, that sort of gets to my point of like, I think we do have a lot of depth, but now Lily's challenge is going to be, how do you get all these guys on the field? And it might just be like, complete formation, whole line changes like that, and that's just what we're going to see. So yeah, I don't know.
I thought I was convinced. I wanted to see a step up and an evolution from Danny Griffin, and I thought I saw moments of that. I think it takes a lot of maturity to, well and truly be a 2-man midfield. Like, it's not like you're 2 central midfielders in a 4-4-2 with 2 wingers or 2 wide midfielders on either side of you. it was two people in midfield, and one of them, let's be honest, doesn't really want to run that much. And so the fact that the fact that I think there's a lot of small positional things and just pressing at the right time and kind of being around to be counted on. I thought was positive from him. So I thought that was nice. I mean, I saw moments of Killwine, right? Is that right? Yeah. Killwine. Where I was like, okay, like, I think there, especially early on, where I'm a little worried about his distribution or whatever, especially on the side of a back three. But there were moments where he was aggressive and so I mean I could see that being fine over the long course, similar to Josh. I won't talk about Alex Dixon, but I feel like I really like Rivera. I think he has a lot of talent and energy and has a ceiling, a higher ceiling than when he's at right now. But at the beginning, it just felt like he just didn't know what he was doing, and he was just erratically running around, and I don't know, not being in the midfield when he should have been, and then being in the midfield when he should have been back further, and losing possession or not winning a challenge when he really needed to win a challenge. And so I'm not writing Rivera off by any means. I think I'm still really looking forward to watching him throughout the season, and I think he'll be an important player for us through the stretch. But I think and I mean this is probably an unfair comparison because Dover is so well established and such a good player, but especially in the mirrored version, looking across at Jordan Dover, it was that. I think that's something that needs to be improved on.
You mentioned Preston Killwine. He was sort of my standout of the three center backs. Did you guys see anything from those three center backs? Coming into this game, we obviously had questions about the depth at defense. We thought offensively we'll be okay, and defensively we're just not sure. Did you guys see anything in this game that made you think, I think we'll be okay? Like, even though this game was a little bit rough, like, I think we'll be okay? Or did watching this game give you new doubts that you didn't have prior to this game?
More so okay, oddly enough, because I feel like it wasn't like a high pace, like them scoring on us from run of play constantly game. Like it was literally a PK and a fluke of an accident that shouldn't have happened in it. That gave me a little bit pause, but that's something you can fix. That's like an obvious error. It's not like, oh, this system's not working. It was just like, you guys need to like work on this a little bit and you'll be fine. So the fact that only one goal came from run of play, I'm not as worried. It wasn't like they ran through us the whole time.
Yeah. Kev, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's particularly frustrating when you, I guess, compare our defenders against friggin' Forrest Lasso. Especially like the way they were just talking about him the entire time. And look, he had a good game. Like, I'm not trying, like, he takes a lot of command back there. I think that honestly, I mean, somewhat similar to Josh, I'm not really worried about like the technical abilities or the physical attributes of our center backs. I think they're all good enough to make the cut. I think the biggest thing I'm slightly worried about is maybe a bit of a gap in leadership back there. I mean, it's one game. And in a like newly formed squad and a newly formed back line, this was the hardest test you could probably have as your first game. Away from home against a really good team. So, that's hard. It's a high bar to meet, and it's hard expectations. I get that. But I think, with things like communication errors, to me, that's indicative of maybe a little bit of no one taking a leadership role or a responsibility to continuously, talk your players through the game and so, yeah, I'll be curious to see kind of how that evolves, and hopefully a leader kind of emerges back there, because right now I don't know if there is one.
So heading into, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but if you're looking at this lineup and you're Lily, Do you say against Hartford, you give this another shot, you do another 5-2-3, or did you guys see enough that you're like, nah, like we should try something else because this just isn't going to work?
You just hate 5 at the back. I know you do.
No, I don't.
I feel
no,
like
listen.
you're always talking against it, and like everyone in the last podcast before the first game of the season, they were like, "Yeah, he plays back 3. Like he's gonna play back 3."
No. Listen, I don't have a problem with it. My concern was it felt, and we talked about this a little bit last season. It felt like you had 2 different teams. It felt like you had the 5 at the back, you had the 3 up front who were trying to hold a high line, and then you got Danny and Kenny in the middle trying to cover all of the ground. And that's where Tampa was just picking us apart because they could just run the field there and they're lining up shots and causing the back 5 to scramble. So like
my argument would be the system or the shape isn't necessarily wrong. We just need to play it better. And to me, that's Dover and Rivera having to be a bit more tactically switched on to know when they need to step up in the midfield and know when they need to.
So that it's more of a 3-4-3 instead of a 5-2-3.
In moments. And when it needs to become a 5-2-3, then it's a 5-2-3.
Yes. Yeah, I would say that we played more in the 5-2-3 in this game than we probably should have. Yeah. If it would have been more of a 3-4-3, then we would have had a better shot of running the midfield. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see them do this again. I want to like, let's give them another run. Prove to me that this was just the hardest first game you could have. And then, and show me an improvement and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, we were all complaining that we didn't get to see any preseason games. So, I mean, we just got to watch a preseason game on live television. So that's cool.
That counts for points. And, when you say live television, you mean something like this, which,
the red screen of death.
The red screen of death followed by the ESPN Plus. Thank you for your patience. So
to be honest, quickly about that stuff. I mean, I said this was the most excited I've been for like a season, and I was really looking forward to watching this game. It killed it.
Right.
It absolutely killed it. And I just forgot about how it's like decent production value and this would be a whole nother story. And it really made me nostalgic about the days of like a higher camera angle at Highmark and having, the likes of Gene, on the commentary. And my gosh. Yeah.
We better get our announcers back. I went with Gene, Paul. Yeah. Come on, make it happen, Hounds. I hope you're actually going to get those guys back.
I was gonna say I don't think I've talked to Matt yet to ask him if he's actually officially going to be back yet. We should probably reach out and see.
No word so far as he knows.
Oh well, that's not positive.
No, it's not. So
great. Yeah, the announcers were awful. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought we were playing Phoenix this game for how much they were talking about the next game is going to be Tampa versus Phoenix. So that was definitely one downside, was just like I wanted to just take a pencil to my eardrums as they were talking. But that was one other downside. Something unrelated to the game that like the game confirmed is pretty much, I guess we didn't get new kits this year, which is a little bit disheartening. Like I get it.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it too.
Yeah, like I wasn't like thinking we would probably. Like I wasn't getting my hopes up about it. So I was like, whatever. And it's honestly, I'm just glad we're having a season. Like it's really hard to have expectations super high right now as far as like the season and like what like product they're gonna get out the door for fans to buy. Like I'm just like, cool, you guys showed up and you opened up the front office and you have a gift store still. I'm glad we're here.
I mean, I agree with that on a lot of levels, but at the same time, like when you look around the rest of the league, and not only are people doing new kits, they're doing like commercials, like advertising for their sponsors, and they're still doing like major kit reveals with like high production value and things like that. And it's just kind of like, what do we want to be? Do we want to be that team that like people look at, or are we just kind of like, we're the Hounds and we're happy to be here? Like it's.
While I don't disagree with you, I think that there's always an opportunity to be more aggressive in like, outreach and marketing for sure. I think I need to constantly remind myself that like there's a stadium expansion in the pipeline that's supposedly going to happen. This training complex is not cheap, and that's going to be a pretty nice.
But hold on, one other thing. Do we know like who funds the kit redesigns? Like I'd have to imagine in some regard we have a contract with Adidas. So like isn't Adidas the one that's designing them and then making money off the jersey sales?
We're paying them to do I think it still comes from we have to pay for the redesign. Yeah. Like for the new design. I don't think it's a situation where it's like they pump it out, every year and that's part of the contract.
I mean, I would just assume that, and obviously this is the way that it works in Europe is that you have the different companies bid on the team to get the rights to the jersey because they then make money off of the jersey sales. So I would assume that if we sign a contract with Adidas for whatever it is, 3 years, that it's in Adidas's best interest to come up with a new kit to try to sell new kits to the people who bought kits last year. So like, why wouldn't they do it? But maybe that's not how it works in the USL. Maybe it's completely different. Yeah. I don't know.
It could also be more blanket towards the whole league instead of just one team. Like it might be a situation where it's like, oh, we're going to come out with 7 new kits every year. What 7 teams get the new kits? And it's probably going to be the ones that have more people buying kits.
Yeah, that's true. So, it might have been like they looked at last season and were like, well, how many kits did they sell? All right, well, let's just let them hold on to the ones that we gave them last year to try to sell this year.
Well, I think that's the best. It's like, I still like our kits. Like they're not atrocious.
I'm not opposed to our kits at all. I was wearing the kit that Kenny designed during the game. And, superstitious me thinks that's probably why we lost. But like, there's something as a fan, if you want to raise the bar, there's a number of areas where you can get people excited before the season starts. Obviously, we can't get into preseason games. So you have the kit reveal, you have the announcement of new players, and that's what gets everybody pumped up. And then the season starts. And we were missing one of those big pieces. And that's where it was at. So
I mean, we're still in preseason mode. Let's let the team get into actually starting the season mode, and then let's worry about getting people pumped.
Listen, I mean, we're 0 for 3 at this point in terms of points. Liz had predicted we got 6 points out of these first 5, so we're right on track. So Prophet Liz, I can't remember what she called specifically for this game, but I also
wouldn't be surprised. I know that much.
I was gonna say maybe if she said 3-0, like I'm gonna have to go back and watch that episode. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else to say about this one? Like, there's no reason to panic. I think a lot of people, as soon as it happened, they were like, "That's it. There goes our season." And I don't think any of us were really thinking it's one game. You would have loved to see a little bit more after the preseason we had. A lot of people wanted to point to the fact that I think in 2019 we lost our first game to Tampa 2-0, and then we went on a tear and ended up winning the East and all of that. I don't think that this 3-0 loss is indicative of like we're going to win the East this year. We might, but
look at this straight. Kenny's kit might be the reason why we lost this game because you wore Kenny's kit. But people who think, oh, we did lose to Tampa Bay 2 years ago, that's far-fetched.
I am allowed to be superstitious. Other people are not, Josh. My superstitions are valid. Theirs are not.
I'm just making sure I understood where the bar was there.
You understood correctly, my friend. Yes, that's exactly correct.
All right, cool.
Anything else to say about this game? I mean, I feel like, again, we learned a little something about some of these players, but like some of them, how much do you really know after the 20 minutes that we got to see them? And it was a tough game. So like, I think we get 3-4 games in, and if we're doing the same thing and we still look as chaotic, then we start to go, okay, time for some changes. But I think the fact that Lily made sort of a wholesale lineup change sort of shows he knows what was wrong and he was trying to address it. He just didn't do it until the 65th minute or whatever it was. So I'm not panicking. I mean, is there anything else you guys want to talk about as it relates to this one?
I mean, if we're seeing this when we play like Loudoun or something like that, and the same situation's happening, then I am going to panic. But against Tampa, first game of the season, I'm not this is not indicative of the season. I don't think it needs to be indicative of the season we're about ready to have. So, yeah.
Who, real quick, and then we'll get on to the next one. Who would you say is your man of the match? And for those who are watching live, let us know who your man of the match was in the comments. We'll put them up on the screen. Josh, I'll let you go first.
I mean, it kind of has to be Vitiello, right? Like, I don't know anyone else was asked to do as much as he was, especially that second half. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a great answer to this one. This game was exactly a showstopper for anyone, but it was kind of cool to see him stop that fourth goal from happening at the very end there, one-on-one with the forward. So
yeah.
Once again, though, on the like for the production value, even for when he stopped that one-on-one, like it was just like close up on the on the Rowdies guy, and then you just see Vitiello popping in the screen. Like it would have been like to me, my initial reaction was like the Rowdies player like messed it up. Like it was like. But if I saw more of the field and saw like Vitiello timed it right, he came out at the right time, closed down the space, and then made it hard, I might have a different opinion. But from what I saw, it was like the dude looked like he had a bad chip, and Vitiello got a hand on it, and that's what it was. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the stats now. The Rowdies get 6 shots on target, 3 of them go in. I didn't think Vitiello had a particularly great game. I don't think anyone had a great game. I really don't want to give a man of the match to anyone on our end.
Who was the best of the worst, Kev? Come on, after your like second, third.
I mean, look, if we're being completely honest, the Riverhounds player at one time, Steven DeSantos, had the best game.
I knew you were going to find a way to snake your way out of this somehow.
Look, he was DeSantos was clearly the best player anyway. For our team, I don't want to say anyone. There were moments where I thought Williamson looked positive, but that was pretty much the extent of it.
Yeah, that's fair. Williamson, I could also see that.
I was going to say Vitiello. I know, Kev, that you said, 7 shots, 3 of them went in.
When
one of those is a PK and one of those is because the defender collides with the keeper, like, okay, like I get it. I'll say that
but he's saving 3 shots and one of them was a bad chip.
No, I get it. I get it. I'll say the one player that I'm most excited to see more of at this point is Todd Wharton. Even though we only saw him for 20 minutes, I think that he's
not your Hounds man of the match.
Who else am I going to pick? We just said, like, who else are we going to pick? Like, I feel like, he was the one that when I was thinking we have a big problem because we have nobody locking it down in front of our defense, he showed up and started locking it down in front of our defense. So, like, thanks, man. So, like, I guess that's my guy. So, for those listening, players, if you're, bum hurt about that, give us a reason to pick you this weekend.
So now I really hope Todd Wharton. I hope Todd Wharton never plays another game, and then I'll buy you a Wharton jersey like you bought me a Forest jersey.
Hold on. No, wait a second. That's a little bit different.
I know. I mean, Mark Forrest created the greatest moment in Hounds, past 3 years. So
look, Adam Marks agrees with me. Wharton changed the tone of the game when he came on. If he starts next week, we dominate the midfield battle. So there you go. See, I'm not talking nonsense.
That's disgraceful.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
You called him up for having a comment on here earlier. Easy come, easy go.
No, I disagree. I shouldn't have done.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. So that's sort of where we're at on this one, guys. Obviously, this weekend we continue on the road. We travel to Hartford. I think 7 p.m. game on Saturday. Hartford are currently 2-0-0. They beat New York Red Bulls 2-0, or New York Red Bulls 2-0, and they beat Miami 1-0 this past weekend. So, my question from you is, and we sort of touched on this a little bit, what do you hope to see in this? Is it more of the same, and we just sort of see if it works better against Hartford than it did against Tampa? Or are you hoping for, like, at least a personnel shift or a formation shift a la Todd Wharton at holding mid? Like, what are you hoping for here?
I don't think it's a good sign if completely throw out all tactics that we use this game and like start it over again. Like if you're jumping ship after one game, that's a bad sign. Like that would make me more worried than seeing basically the same lineup, maybe some switches here or there, but like I don't want to see like a completely new game plan for this game. And I mean, obviously, unless the way that Hartford's set up differently than Tampa calls for that, like there's stuff I know that goes on in Bob's head that I don't understand, but he gets. So like I could see some changes, but I hope it doesn't look like we completely like scrapped our game plan because of this one game, because that shows no confidence in the guys, no confidence in the coaching. And so it's like, that would scare me a lot more. That's all I'm saying.
So let's keep it more simple then. If you could make one change, what would it be? Or would you make no changes? So those are your options. One change, so like swapping one player for another player, or no changes at all. Kev, what are you doing?
I wouldn't make any changes. Maybe swap out Dixon, but I don't think I'd make any changes. I think similar to what Josh is saying, I think I want to see this, but just played better. I want to see the wingbacks get more involved. I want to see a better transition from defense to attack. I want to see more leadership and communication on the back line. And I would expect all those things to happen with more games. So yeah, I'd be interested in seeing the same lineup again against Hartford, but Hartford gonna be a tough game.
Yeah. Kev, you seem to be dancing around this. And so I want to ask you, do you think that this game, just going back to Tampa for a second, do you think this was a game that we beat ourselves or did Tampa beat us?
Both. I think Tampa played pretty well, especially for how early it is in the season. And I think simultaneously we didn't play well. So it wasn't like we played well, they played well, they edged us. Tampa played well, we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it is a situation where Tampa beat us, but we didn't do ourselves any favors. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely Tampa was a better team, and they played well, and that's why they won. But those errors at the end, like that's their goal. That's all us. Like that's not Tampa. That's us playing ourselves.
We could have played better and still not deserve to win the game.
Fair.
Like I think that was how big the gap was between us.
It just sounded like a lot of what you were saying came down to execution. So if we get, Rivera and Dover to pinch up more, do we actually think that's going to make enough of an impact that we would have a shot at winning that game? And it sounds like that may not have even been it because Tampa was just that good on the day. So, yeah. So hopefully that does make the difference. I think if it's me, I think I might make one change going into this game. I think, my love fest for Todd Wharton is real. So I would say put Todd in and maybe you take Dixon out. And so you end up going with more of a, 5-2-1-2, something like that. Let Griffin be the attacking guy and have Kenny sort of be the holding one next to Todd and then see what, Danny can do with two attacking forwards. In this case, what it would be Williamson and Cicerone. But again, I think I liked what I saw from Williamson, but like I still don't know who Cicerone is. Like I didn't see enough to be like, oh, that's same thing with Josh Gatt, same thing with any of the other forwards. I just didn't feel like they touched the ball enough to really get a sense of what they're about. So
I feel like we might actually see that happen. The forward changes, like that's kind of Bob's MO anyway. Like, hey, we're going to try this pairing this game. We're going to try this pairing this game. So I could definitely see if there's much tinkering that's going to happen, it's going to be with the forwards. Heck, we got enough of them. Like, there's plenty of options. So I could definitely see the forwards being tinkered with a little bit.
I think that's the one other thing that makes me nervous, though, is that like it feels like this back line, like this is our back line. Like we're sort of, I don't want to say stuck with them, but like there's no tinkering. So hopefully we got it right and they just need to gel and like then they're going to be, locked tight. But
yeah, Williams scares me. I mean, that's the one thing I'm like, I don't know about Williams right now. Like, I mean, it's a lot of this is because of the screw up in the back for the third goal. Like that is weighing my opinion of him heavily. So
for sure,
but it's one screw up. So
I think, I can't remember. I conveniently can't remember how many points the three of us said that we would have after these first 5 games. So we can't use that to sort of weigh our predictions in this game. Thanks, Kev. So Kev, you're basically of the thought that, if we lose against Hartford, then you're still not in panic mode yet because we got 3 other games to pick up 7 points and we'll be all right.
I need to stop myself from going on a rant here. I think if anyone is in panic mode after 2 games, it's just like, what are you in this for? Like, why, why are you doing this?
I teed this up for you because I knew this would set you off. So go ahead, you can do the spiel.
No, but that's really it. And honestly, no. The smallest thing I'll say is like people who say panic stations after 2 games, like not the sole reason, but part of the contribution reason of why like things like super leagues are forming. And I know that's a huge jump.
Wow.
It's this idea.
Panic rooms in the USL Championship lead directly to super leagues. This is Kevin's hot take.
It's this
and global hunger. I'm just going to throw it out there too. Global hunger as well. I mean, I know it's harsh to say this, but someone has to say it. You know what? I'm here for you.
It's true. No, it's this idea that like winning is everything. And if you're not constantly winning, sack the manager, buy more players. I don't care what it costs, whatever. That's how much we prioritize winning, and that's how much we prioritize, all of that. And so no, it's not panic stations. I want to see, especially early on. I mean, look, early on I want to see results. Let's be honest. But at a minimum, I want to see a progression and a more cohesive system, especially from what we saw against Tampa.
I will say, I feel like the pieces are there. Like, I think that what we did
I think so too, yeah.
is that there's a lot of talent on this team. And so just getting the pieces in the right spot where they need to be. This could be the most talented Hounds team that we've had since I've started following them. It's just a matter of, can they become better than, the sum of the pieces? Or no, I didn't say that right, but you know what I mean. Can they collectively be bigger than what they are individually? Because what they are individually is pretty good. So
I want to see progression of this. Like, I want to see us getting better. There's no panic happening there, and I don't even think I can really say panic after 3 games, 4 games. Like it's there's a lot of season, so it's hard to be in full on panic. But I would be in panic mode after 5 games if I didn't see any progression of them getting it figured out. And so on this weekend's game, I want to see them looking like they learned something from the last game. And I'll be very disappointed if they lose. I think they possibly could, though. Based off this last performance, it's not out of the question. But I do think it's not like a foregone conclusion. I don't feel hopeless about this game.
So it sounds like all 3 of us are saying what we hope for more in this game is that they pass the eye test of like looking better than this past game. So with that in mind, is it even worth us doing predictions? Because if they lose and still pass the eye test, then we're like, okay, like we're on the right track. Is that right?
Are they going to have a blunder goal? Are they going to have a goal against us that is just because our team clicks off and does some silly mistake again? I'm going to say no.
That's what we're predicting.
That's what I'm predicting. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we going to embarrass ourselves?
Are we going to embarrass ourselves? I would tend to say no as well. I'm willing to bet that Lily wasn't too happy with that, and Lily has a press conference tomorrow that I might attend and ask him that. Like, so what did you say to the guys after the game, Coach? Which might result in a really fun sound clip. But I think I'd agree with that. I think. If we come, I would not be surprised. Well, maybe I would. I'd say I would not be surprised if this game was a 0-0. Like Lily's like, lock it up. Like, let's go out, let's fix the mistakes and lock it up. just don't screw it. I mean, that's a terrible way to play. Don't screw up. But, like, you got to set that baseline again.
Yeah, I hope not. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see us just become scared. Like, I don't want to play from a place of fear. I don't want to see the team playing like that. So I hope that's not what happens, but I could definitely see it being more of a back to basics. Like, let's see those triangle passes. Let's see completed passes. Let's see good defense. Yeah. And everyone playing to keep the goal out, or keep the ball out of the goal on our side.
Yeah. All right. Well, since we're not doing formal predictions, we're going to do something else. At the end of the game, there was a video of Lily giving Dos Santos a hug and whispering something into his ear. What did Lily say to Dos Santos? Kevin, what did Lily say to Dos Santos? Give us your best guess.
I don't know. That's weird.
That was a dive, and you know it. That's what
I know. Exactly. It was going to be, where was that last season?
oh, stab.
And then it was like, I love you, guy. You should come back. All right. Well, sorry that we're not, leaving you with an actual prediction. But I think that, what we said is 100% true. I think if you're panicking at this point, you shouldn't be panicking, and watch the game. Like see if it passes if we lose 1-0, 2-0, but the team looks really good, like that's reason for hope. So let's take that and build from that. But let us know what you think. Are we right? Are we wrong? Are we, just talking to talk? Let us know. Otherwise, guys, anything else for this one?
Got nothing.
Nothing.
Can't wait for the first game of the season to start next week.
Yep. Yeah.
That's right. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Obviously we appreciate it. Thank you for those who hung out live with us and supplied us with a whole bunch of comments and fun reading. If it didn't make it on air, we apologize, but we are reading all of the comments that come through. You guys are awesome. So keep it up. For those who haven't watched us live, make sure you check us out on YouTube every Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. We will be here talking about the week's previous game and the upcoming game, and we'll go from there. Make sure to head over to mongols.com, click on support the show to become a Patreon follower. Jeez, I'm stumbling already. It's your weekly reminder that Black Lives Matter, obviously. Thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to USL, MLS, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Tired of the same old cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Looking for a unique, completely custom kit for youth club, Sunday league, squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. Looking for more great USL news? Head over to bgn.fm, where we've now got over 100 fans that are writing and podcasting about the beautiful game. Lots of great features that went up on the site this week. Go check them out at bgn.fm. Otherwise, thanks, everybody. We will talk to you very, very soon.
See ya.